It is March 13th, 2024. We are 43 days away from the 2024 NFL Draft, and I'm joined today by a special guest from the Rational Football League show, Brendan and Emmett. You can find them at the RFL show on Twitter and at the Rational Football League show on YouTube. We're going to talk about the top 6 quarterbacks in this upcoming draft. As we know, that's the most exciting part of what's coming in this draft, and there's so much talent. It feels like the quarterback position alone is so saturated with so many playmakers. So looking forward to having a full-on discourse about these guys and breaking down each one of them, putting in some comps, ranking them, and giving their best fits for each one. So before we dive in, guys, how we doing? Brendan, how we doing, man?
I'm good. Living life here. You know, we still have a long ways away to the draft. But hopefully time this flies by and we get there fast.
Awesome. Emmett, how we feeling?
I'm excited. Free agency is going pretty well so far. A lot of great. We saw a prediction video came out, and I think we got 3 of 5 right, didn't we? Be?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's been an exciting time. People flying around, trades going around. So.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many dominoes that are falling on each side of this. You know, you have the free agency, you have the franchise tags, and hopefully some trades coming up. And you know, we still have the uncertainty around Justin Fields, but maybe some questions are answered before the draft with him in regards to the QB prospects as well. But we're just going to get into it. You can't talk about the draft without talking about Caleb Williams. And I know we were joking about it before we even started the show. Brendan, huge fan of the Bears. So I think we can say pretty certain that the Bears will draft Caleb Williams. So we'll just start from the top. Let me hear your brief synopsis on Caleb Williams. Are you excited as a Bear fan? Are you, are you a little bit weary? You know, let me know what you're feeling.
Yeah, you know, I'm actually super pumped. I think you were right saying like Caleb going to the Bears is almost a lock at this point. Ryan Poles, he loves doing his like research, so he's gonna meet with him after Caleb's pro day here, like a top 30 visit, and do all the the medical and all that fun stuff. Spend an entire day with them just to be 100% certain on it. But as a fan, you know, the saying goes, Bears fans have never really had a good quarterback, really. So my entire life has just been wish-washy quarterback play. Hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, this is like the one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man, I am over the top about having Caleb on our team here soon.
Yeah. Emmett, what about you? What are your thoughts on Caleb Williams going to the Bears? Any reluctancy there, or are you pretty set forward on that as well?
So I'm excited for the Bears to get Caleb Williams. I do think he's going to be the best quarterback they've probably had in franchise history. I would temper my expectations a little bit. I remember me and B kind of talked throughout the season. There's going to be some growing pains with Caleb. He's had to improvise a lot at USC. He's played with a terrible O-line. He's had to really kind of create for himself. And for him going to the Bears, where it's obviously an NFL franchise, they have a better O-line and some decent weapons there. It's going to be a challenge for him to start playing within a structure, within a rhythm. So there's going to be I imagine a few weeks of adjustments for the Bears, but I'm excited for them.
Yeah, I am too. And, you know, you kind of harped on something important there. I think there will be a bit of adjustment for Caleb, you know, with the Bears and stuff, going from playing at USC to, you know, the NFL. The discrepancy level and the talent on the defensive side of the ball is massive, as I don't have to tell any football fan. You know, they all know that. But I feel like his style of play will be, there'll be some growing pains, like you said, going from being able to be the magician that he was in college. You know, I don't know if he'll be able to do that every single time like he was in college over in the NFL, but he certainly will be able to make all sorts of flashy plays. I have no doubt about that. And it's crazy. You know, you think about the Bears are as successful and as deep-rooted of a franchise as they are. You know, the best quarterback they've had is what, Jim McMahon and like Jay Cutler? That's crazy.
It's sad. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's vetted in as many accolades and stuff as like the history behind that franchise. It's wild that, you know, we're sitting here and that's the best quarterback talent to come from Chicago. So I'm sure the Bears fans are chomping at the bit. And the big questions for Caleb Williams, you know, let's play devil's advocate here a little bit. The the play from 2022 to 2023, I don't want to say there's a decline. There's a little bit more spottiness in his play. As you know, his team as a whole didn't perform as well. Now, definitely not putting that on him. Caleb can't do anything, but we saw some performance like his Notre Dame performance, where he struggled a little bit. He threw 3 interceptions and only scored 28 points. It's kind of crazy that we say that about him, but he struggled in a loss against UCLA. He still threw for 350 yards in that game, and struggled in a loss to Oregon. He threw for 291 yards in that game. So his struggles are still a lot better than most quarterback stats, but I feel like that's the looming concern and the floating questions. Everybody has to have some sort of negative, even though this is one of the best prospects the NFL have seen in forever. So, are any of those concerns to you, or do you think those can be easily answered in the league? And what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I can jump in here. So, people love to bring up that Notre Dame, Notre Dame game to your point, and I almost think that game was just a fluke, really. I mean, he threw 5 picks last year, 3 of which were in that one game. And even while E and I were watching film, he still was doing pretty good stuff in that game too. So to your point, is like his bad games is still really like up there, like above subpar. Like it's pretty good stuff.
Right.
And I'm not obviously. I think he has to learn to what we're talking about before, is he can't go up after the big play. Take what the defense is giving you, right? And at times he did that, and at times he really didn't. And as a Bears fan, I kind of hope that he just chose not to do that stuff rather than being a whole like a processing issue, right? Maybe he's just like, I don't want to take this 5-yard out, and in this cover 3, I want to go for a home run shot here, right? So I think a lot of his struggles is fixable. And to E's point before, I think it will just take a little bit of time, right, during his first season here, where you will see some, wow, holy crap, how did he do that? And then a lot of plays like, dude, what in the hell are you doing, man? So I think it's going to be a good mixture, but I think that overall it's going to be good for him too.
Awesome, yeah. It's funny because I saw a funny comparison the other day on Twitter, or X now. But somebody tweeted out, is like Caleb Williams this past year of play reminded me a lot of Jameis Winston, and the fact that he refuses to look for the check down. He, like at all costs, he's going, he's going for the deep ball or the big play or whatever, no matter what. So I was like, wow, that's a lot of merit to that. But, like you said, that's perfectly fixable. So, when you have this conversation, you got to play devil's advocate, but he's undoubtedly the best quarterback prospect in the league, the most talented arm in the draft, hands down. So, all right, enough about Caleb Williams outright. Let's rank the prospects. We have 6 of them. We have Caleb Williams, of course, Bo Nix, Jayden Daniels, Michael Penix, Drake Maye, and JJ McCarthy. So we'll kind of put the cutoff there. I know there's some nice talent in the later rounds in terms of the QB position, but we're going to focus on the top 6, and we're going to just do a good old-fashioned ranking system, and we'll kind of debate each other from there. So Emmett, Brendan, I don't know who wants to start us off, but let me hear your top 6.
E, do you want to go first, man?
Yeah, I can go first. Mine's probably going to be a little bit more of a, I guess in a general sense right now, hot takey. We'll see how long that hot takey thing lasts. But number 1, I'm going Caleb Williams. For 2, actually for me, it's JJ McCarthy. 3, I'm going with Jayden Daniels. 4, Drake Maye. 5, Michael Penix Jr. And 6 is Bo Nix.
Nice. Okay, so I don't want to spoil my rankings, but I love that because I have Bo Nix at 6 as well. And when I show my rankings to others, specifically my friends, they're like, "What are you talking about? That's crazy. That's outlandish." They specifically harp on having JJ McCarthy ahead of him, but I don't have JJ McCarthy that high. So let's dive into that a little bit. I would love to hear why you have JJ McCarthy at 2. That's so polarizing to me because I have so much to say about that on the positive side and the negative side. So what's your analysis with that?
So it's kind of funny. I actually had to issue an apology early on because I was calling JJ McCarthy a handoff merchant, the same kind of thing. I watched the national championship game and went, what is everyone's thing with this guy? He's just handing the ball off to Blake Corum, giving it to Diamond Edwards, and they're doing all the work. When we actually dove into the film, though, I mean, there's so many great things he does from a fundamental standpoint that makes him already a high floor quarterback. His pocket poise is phenomenal. The way he's able to maneuver around the pocket, keeping his eyes down the field, still reading defenses. I mean, there really isn't anyone in the draft that's doing that. I remember specifically there was one play where he was being flushed out to his left. He's almost essentially shuffling backwards and is still reading the safety dropping down and taking away the crosser and hitting the post behind it. It's just little things like that that you don't really see in a stat sheet. They don't really show up on a flashy play highlight reel, but they're the little things that keep drives alive, they keep drives sustainable, and they get you into the end zone essentially. He also he doesn't have the most flashy of arm. It's I want to say it's good. It's serviceable. I think he threw 61 miles per hour at the combine, which was the second fastest speed behind Joe Milton's 62. But yeah, for me, it's that paired with his athleticism. He's able to take off. He's able to make plays happen. He's twitchy as an athlete. I wouldn't say he's very long speed fast. He reminds me a lot of a Joe Burrow, a Brock Purdy style of play, where they're more cerebral players who have enough athletic ability to make something happen. But they're not Justin Fields or Caleb Williams level athletes.
Yeah. My comp for him actually was a young Alex Smith. Before the injury and stuff. So
that's a good one.
I really like his athletic ability really ties in as well. I think, similar to Alex Smith, when he first got drafted, he had the arm talent, he had the athletic ability, he had the agility, he had all of the intangibles as well. So that's really what I see with JJ McCarthy on my perspective. And it's funny because so the way I do some things is I heat map all of the statistics when I make comparisons like this. And so I see green for stats that are really good and red for stats that are really bad. So for your basic layup stats, like completion percentage, passing touchdowns, interceptions, and yardage and stuff like that, JJ McCarthy is all red compared to the other six. All red. He's got the least amount of passing touchdowns, the least passing yards, the least amount of completions. But you guys know better than anybody. That doesn't tell the whole story for a team that ran the ball at a higher success rate than any other team in NCAA. So for JJ McCarthy, I dug a little deeper, and his underlying metrics are phenomenal. He's got a better catchable ball percentage than Caleb Williams. He's got a better target percentage than Caleb Williams. It's the underlying metrics are actually showing a ton of positive for JJ McCarthy. And so, I agree. It took me a minute to find it out and come to that consensus, but after watching the playoffs a little bit and having more eyes on him, I see where you're coming from. I see why you rank him 2. I didn't rank him 2. I didn't have the boldness and the confidence to do that, but I see where you're coming from. And that's why I have him ahead of Bo Nix specifically, is because I think he's definitely more of a full package and more cerebral, especially with what he did as a freshman. Bo Nix could not do that as a freshman at Auburn University. So I think he has the upper hand with that. Brendan, your top 6.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
So mine's not as fun. Okay. I'm going to throw that out there. I got 1 Caleb, 2 Drake Maye, 3 Jayden Daniels, 4 JJ, 5 Michael Penix Jr., and then 6 Bo Nix.
Okay. So really high on Drake Maye.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's fixate on that. Let me hear it.
So I love his size. Like, he's a big body guy. He has a lot of raw talent there. Again, there is a little bit of I don't want to say a negative thing, but watching his film, you can sometimes he's like all over the place, right? We actually said his player comp is, I know everyone says Justin Herbert, but we think Josh Allen. Because sometimes, the ball flies out of his hand. He looks sure. And then sometimes he'll just sail over a receiver about 5 or 10 yards. And be like, what did he look at there? Like, the ball placement was all off. What's going on there? But he can also run too. So that's where we kind of came with that Josh Allen esque
Right.
type comp there. And I know this is kind of like a weaker argument, I guess, but if he was coming out about 10 years ago, I think he would probably be the first overall pick. Just the way we kind of view quarterbacks, right? Looking for the next Tom Brady. Now we're looking for the next Patrick Mahomes. So
Right.
that's why I got to put him at like 2 there.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I think with Drake Maye, there's an overflow of just raw ability. You know, I think there's a lot that you can fine tune with him, but the arm talent and the athletic ability, similar to JJ McCarthy, you know, it's definitely something you can work with. And as a coach, as an offensive coach, that's probably something that you love to see. You know, that he may not have the full package yet, but he certainly has the ability to get there. So. I like that. I actually have Caleb at 1, Jayden Daniels at 2, Drake at 3, Michael Penix at 4, JJ at 5, Bo Nix at 6. And so I'm actually like pretty behind on Bo Nix. You know, all things considered, I thought I was going to be the only one to have him at 6, but I'm glad Emmett was right there with me. So that makes me feel a little bit better about my take. But I will say this, it's talking about Jayden Daniels. I don't think he gets as much respect that he deserves, especially as a passer. And so the big talking point is his legs. And of course he deserves that. He had over 1,000 rushing yards playing in the SEC this year. You know, it's definitely well warranted, but Jayden Daniels as a passer is phenomenal as well. He was actually second overall in EPA per play generated as a passer, and he had the highest yards per completion out of all of the quarterbacks. And so that tells you alone that he's not dinking and dunking his way through, you know, the defense. He's stretching the field. He's got the vertical capabilities in the passing game to attack the deep ball. And so I really love Jayden Daniels and the ceiling that he has. And so and everybody's way of gauging and grading quarterbacks obviously is different. And you know, there's no right answer really. But for me, it's like who could I take and really work with? Who do I think has the highest ceiling? And I think that's Jayden Daniels for me. So I know that's a bit of a stretch, but all of these guys are truly talented, and you know, one of them at least is going to come out a superstar. But that was my kind of. I don't want to say it's different because a lot of people have Jayden Daniels as the 2 or 3 guy, but I have to emphasize him because I want to give him more respect as a passer than what I've seen in the industry. So do you agree, disagree? You know what?
Yeah, no, I actually love that. I was tearing and putting him as my 2 too, because I was high on him even during the entire season.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, yeah, like he is mobile, he can run, but he can operate in a pocket well for a dual threat guy. Like he can really like sling it, and he can process it. And I guess this is not really stat based per se, but I guess it kind of is. I love his like years of experience. He's been playing since his freshman year. And I believe he's a 5th-year senior now too. So
yep.
He had tons of reps, and during our draft profile for him, I can't remember the exact number, but he has as many pass attempts in college as Justin Fields had going back. If you add up Justin Fields' attempts during his college years and then his 3 years in the pros. Now I know Justin Fields didn't throw a whole lot so far in his NFL career, but that just shows you the type of how many reps he has and experience going into the league. And I think that experience would definitely help him with that learning curve.
Yeah. 100%. Emmett, what's your thoughts on Jayden Daniels while we're here?
I think Jayden Daniels is a fantastic vertical stretch player. So Jayden Daniels, he was 2 for me, honestly, until I saw JJ McCarthy. But Jayden Daniels has a lot of things that you love as a player. He doesn't make the same mistake twice. Specifically, I believe it was a game against they played Purdue, I think it was Purdue or something like that, where he threw a pick to a middle linebacker that kind of sunk into a basic route, sunk underneath the basic route. Later in the same game, same kind of play happened. He looked him off, got him to bite on that. And again, same kind of thing, hit him over the top. He learns from his mistakes so quickly. And I think he only threw, I want to say 4 interceptions on the year. Is it 4 or 5?
Something like that.
Yeah. So it just
Let's
tells me
see.
he's protective with the ball.
Yep.
And the kind of what you mentioned before, he's really good at attacking deep. He's kind of like Caleb. He's looking to strike deep, but he does it in such an efficient and effective manner. He doesn't put the ball in danger. He doesn't run unless he absolutely has to. He's always the one to stay behind that line of scrimmage as long as he needs to let that play develop, which is, again, it's just one of those things where, you see other guys where they struggle is because they start taking off. He's always willing to use his arm. And you're right, he doesn't get enough credit for that.
Yeah. I feel like he's an explosive play just waiting to happen.
Exactly. The Russell Westbrook of football.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And he got better as the years goes on. Okay. So for each one of these ones, there's best fits, I feel like, with certain schemes in the league and whatnot. And so especially with what happened in the free agency, now some teams have maybe closed the door on the quarterback position, and some teams may have reopened the door, based off of the outcome. So I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts for each one of these. If you have a specific team in mind, any outlandish predictions out there that you want to throw out there. And so we kind of can walk it down one by one. Can we safely say Caleb Williams is just, the unanimous one? I don't know if anybody has any hot takes of he won't go number one or the Bears will keep Justin Fields, but I'm fine with saying Caleb Williams to the Bears.
Same here. Please.
Yeah. Okay. So no particular order here. We'll start off with Bo Nix because this one is polarizing to me in a way because we talked about him. It seems like we have some agreement that he may not necessarily be the top guy in this draft. He might be the bottom of these top 6. But talking about fits and where we think Bo Nix's style of play would best fit. And so based on our conversation, it seems like he'd be picked later in the draft, maybe a team who isn't necessarily in desperate need of a quarterback, but could use a guy to develop on the bench and maybe even come in and play at some point down the road this next year, as early as this next year or early next year. So we'll start from the top with Bo Nix, and I'll start with one team. I put the Giants down because I feel like he fits their scheme. I feel like Daboll would be very content with pulling him in to sit behind Daniel Jones for 1 year and getting to acclimated to the playbook and the offensive style of play. We saw Daboll and what he did with Josh Allen, and I feel like him coming in and being able to pick up on some of those skills in the playbook would kind of fit Bo Nix's style of play. So that was my first one there, but we'll go from there. Brendan, we'll start with you. Bo Nix.
Yeah,
best fits.
I kind of have a sleeper pick here because I'm trying to kind of formulate, looking like the draft and stuff like that. Like I don't know if he goes the first round. I don't know. But a team, actually, I thought of this a little bit ago after they made a free agency sign, is what if the Titans think that they could maybe draft him and kind of hold on to him a little bit? And the logic behind that is, do head coach there, how, committed are they to Will Levis? They just signed Calvin Ridley a couple hours ago, had DeAndre Hopkins there, right? What's Bo Nix good at doing? Pushing the ball downfield, incorporate a little bit of the run game there. So, I'm going to go with the sleeper pick here. I'll go with the Titans.
Okay. I like that because the Titans are locking in. They, like you said, they signed Calvin Ridley. They also brought in Tony Pollard. They have Tyjae Spears, who's, a seemingly going to be, the 1A or 1B in that running back backfield. So they're definitely in win now mode. And so I didn't even think about that. If Will Levis were to not play out how they hope for him to play out, and if they could just tap into Bo Nix, who's, I guess, I don't want to say the most developed of them all, but he certainly has the most experience given that he's 24, 25.
Right. Yeah.
A
little bit older.
Seemingly the oldest of them. So it makes a lot of sense. I didn't even think about that. That's interesting. What about you? Let me hear it.
I just want to ask B a question real quick. B, does that tie into your disdain of Will Levis at all? Is that what kind of went into the thought process with that?
I do. I did catch a little bit of
kidding.
slack going into last year's draft. I was not a big Will Levis fan. I was not.
So I hope this doesn't make you guys like me any less, but I am a Tennessee fan, and so I understand. I did not like Will Levis either, especially in the Kentucky-Tennessee, fuse that went on. Hearing the amount of Kentucky fans tell me that Will Levis was, better than Hendon Hooker and all this. I mean, he may have been a better prospect, sure, but just grinded my gears.
That's so funny. So
That's
you know what's funny
That's
about
crazy.
that?
That's cool.
First of all, I didn't know you're a Tennessee fan. I actually makes you like me likes you more.
Yeah.
I actually had
same
Hendon
here.
Hooker as my top quarterback last year.
Oh, no way. That's awesome. I
I
can't say enough
loved
about
watching
that
him
guy.
at Tennessee. Oh God, yeah.
He was just I can't even get going, man. I'll just sit here and talk about the 2020 season for the next hour, and specifically the Bama win. I was there. I was on the field hanging from the goalpost. You can find a picture of me somewhere.
That is sweet.
Oh,
It's
it's
sweet.
so cool.
Yeah.
Frame
I know
that.
we're
That picture. Yeah.
we're my buddy and I, we share season tickets or seats right next to each other, and we're in the upper deck. We haven't made it big, so we're not in the lower bowl, but we rushed down to the bottom of the field and hopped in behind the student section and rushed the field with them as soon as the field goal went in, and I kind of blacked out.
That
from
is
there.
so
I don't
cool.
really...
Oh my God.
I was about to say,
Yeah,
I
that was
have
such a fun
one
game.
question. Like, how did that feel? I know you said you just like blacked out, but it had to be like one of the best like feelings ever. Like
Dude,
running onto the field after that huge win. That's crazy.
I don't want to be dramatic because I know it was just a regular season win, but I almost cried. I'll just say
I would have. I would have.
I don't blame you. I know you. I been waiting on that for like 13 years. You had been like just 15, just soaking in
15
that.
years, yeah. And
that feels so good.
I was a young kid when Tennessee won the Natty in 1998, and I just don't even remember that. So the years following, my fandom of me being a fan of Tennessee, I never really saw like the prime of Tennessee football, and so I saw the Derek Dooley, the Lane Kiffin, and those guys, the Butch Jones era, unfortunately. And then, of course, the Jeremy Pruitt era. That was the worst of them all.
Oh, no.
So having that moment, even though it was just a normal regular season game, I get it, but
yeah,
that was awesome, man. Just being there. So, but yeah, no, I love to hear it because Hendon Hooker, man, now that he's fully healthy, I really do hope he gets an opportunity at some point in the league because I think he will be able to do something. Although the Lions are seemingly set and comfortable, especially after the success that they had with Jared Goff last year and the playoff push that they made. So, but you never know. We'll see. So, all right, don't want to get off
distracted
track.
Guys.
Yeah, no. I could talk about that for hours. So
that'd probably make a fantastic episode.
Okay.
But
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You mentioned to me something about before we got on the show. You said you had a special prediction about where a certain prospect is going to go. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
I
don't want to reveal too much because, again, we are recording our episode tomorrow. It's going to drop probably early next week. So I won't go into all the details. But I'll just give you the answer now. I am of the impression the Vikings are going to trade up and take Drake Maye out of North Carolina. My reasoning for it, quite simply, is that usually in the NFL, you want to keep your quarterback rooms the same, right? Last year, the 49ers had Sam Darnold to pair with Brock Purdy because they play a similar style. So if Brock Purdy got hurt, Sam Darnold can fill in. So if the Vikings are bringing in Sam Darnold to be a backup or potentially a bridge quarterback, which quarterback in the draft most fits the big, strong, arm talent, mobile quarterback that is Sam Darnold? Drake Maye. So to me, and not to mention, we have Josh McCown as the quarterback coach in Minnesota now, who coached Drake Maye in high school. The stars just sometimes seem to align perfectly.
Man, that's a lot of coincidences. It's a suspicious amount of coincidences. I'm glad you put it up there. I might have to make a little side bet over here while the show's rolling. So, no, I love that. I think it's a great fit. I think with Kevin O'Connell and the way he runs things, I mean, he definitely wants to stretch the field as much as he can. Drake Maye certainly has the arm. He also has the athletic ability to do whatever else he needs to do outside of the pocket. So, I love it. I never really connected the dots there, but that would be a fun fit, especially for Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, two of the really dynamic receivers. Justin Jefferson is the best receiver, arguably top two in the league. So that would be a fun pairing to watch in its own right. So, we'll stay on Drake Maye. Brendan, Drake Maye. Any particular teams, or you kind of just want to float something out there?
Yeah, I mean, I can see the Giants being a pretty good fit for him. Daboll's there, of course. I'm kind of made that player comp a little bit ago with Josh Allen and Drake Maye. Daboll coached Allen, so I think that could possibly work. I think he definitely needs to go to a place where it's pretty stable from like a coaching perspective, just because again, he is that raw talent, and I don't want him to get into a spot where he has two head coaches in 3 years, different coordinators, all of that stuff. But I'll probably say the Giants for May for right now.
Yeah. I actually had the Giants on one of my teams for May as well. I had about 4 of them. Falcons being one of them, and then I had to cross them off the list. But I had the Giants, I had the Patriots. I feel like the Patriots, I mean, with them, you could say just about anybody is a good fit for them, just considering how needy they are at the position. So
true.
And it's going to be hard to gauge, who they want. Alex Van Pelt's the new offensive coordinator. He came from the Browns. If his style of play mimics anything of the Browns, we're going to see some more, pro style offense, heavy play action, heavy run game. And they're going to want to stretch the field off of that play action. So Drake Maye would fit, at some degree. So, I like him there as well. I had Pittsburgh there.
Okay.
But with Russell Wilson, I mean,
Cap throws a wrinkle on it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's, you have Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson now. You think that's going to be the quarterback, controversy for the Steelers in the offseason. But, I don't really know what to take from there, considering that Russell Wilson's getting paid the league minimum. So there's no finance issues there. But I don't know. We'll see. The question is, I guess, is if Russell Wilson has any juice left in the tank.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole nother conversation in its own right. But we'll pivot and go to Jayden Daniels. And Emmett, I'm glad you brought that up. And it seems like you and I, we look at a lot of the same things as we go into a draft, what other teams are doing, what dominoes are falling, and how can we kind of forecast a little bit into what a team is going to do. The Redskins signed Marcus Mariota in the free agency. And speaking of similar quarterback styles, you talk about teams like to have their backup mimic the style of play that their starter has. And that screams Jayden Daniels. You have a guy who's mobile, can get out of the pocket and stuff. Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator, so you can only imagine that he's going to want to have the most athletic quarterback that he can find from the draft. And so given that it's not going to be Caleb Williams, assuming that he's taken by the Bears, I have to say that I'm pretty certain that it's going to be Jayden Daniels. I don't want to die on this hill, but everything points to Jayden Daniels for the Redskins, given that the offensive coordinator is Cliff Kingsbury. They signed Marcus Mariota, and they're looking for anything to revitalize that franchise. So, I hope it doesn't make too much sense, because sometimes that happens. I think a franchise is actually setting themselves up for success, and they turn around and make some dumb decision. But, that's kind of where I'm sitting at for Jayden Daniels. I think it's a sure lock, but I don't know. Thoughts? Am I off base here? What do you guys think?
Oh, you nailed it. 100% exactly. I believe me and B, we're both thinking the same thing. Jayden Daniels of Washington just makes too much sense. We have Cliff Kingsbury there, like you mentioned. Now they just brought in Marcus Mariota, very similar style of play, mobile quarterbacks who are pretty good passers, accurate. So I think it's just a fantastic fit there. And I really do like what Adam Peters has kind of done in free agency, as you kind of hinted at. He's done a great job of taking that money and evenly distributing it around the roster to bring it in and bring it to an average level of play, because they had a lot of holes there. So it may seem like they brought a mountain of guys, but each guy brings a unique little piece. So I think Washington fans are going to be very happy with Adam Peters and the style that he brings in from San Francisco.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. It'll be fun. I hope, given the staff changes and the culture change going on at Washington, that we see a little bit more, success, less drama from this franchise. It seems like every year there's some sort of BS that comes out of there that's like, how is this happening again? It seems like dirt follows this place. So, Brendan, thoughts? Same page.
It's almost like you guys read my mind, because I had to say the same thoughts. Like, this makes a whole lot of sense there. Kingsbury worked with mobile type quarterbacks before.
Yep.
Marcus was brought in. I mean, just kind of reading the tea leaves here is almost like set in stone. So yeah,
100%. So, talking about a guy we haven't really talked about too much, Michael Penix Jr. And, this guy has gone up and down draft boards all over. There's a little bit of question about his current health. He was a little banged up after the playoffs last year. So I think he's good to go. So let's assume and operate under the notion that he's going to be fully healthy and he'll pass all of his physicals. Some of his comps here and team fits are kind of fun because they're all over the place. And for me, making the comparison to Tua Tagovailoa is too easy. The lefty quarterback, that's too easy. And
True.
He's got a stronger arm, in my opinion, and I think he's a bit more dynamic at times. But when I watch him, he really reminds me of Matthew Stafford in the way that he's like borderline reckless almost, in the way that he's like gunslinging in the field. He's so fun to watch. Like it's like a unique passing, just range of motion in the way that he does things. A beautiful spiral. He's one of the best pure passers in the draft, if not the best. And so I certainly think the arm talent is there for him. And I think he'll be a welcomed addition to whoever drafts him, but a bit more ambiguous than the others, especially with where he played at Washington and the level of competition. I know that they made a deep run and whatnot, but that's just what I'm seeing. People saying, when he faced so and so, when shit hit the fan, he kind of collapsed a little bit. I'm not putting that all on Michael. I still think he's a great prospect. So I'll just throw that out there. Broncos were seemingly one of my favorite fits, just getting Sean Payton. And if Sean Payton had the ability to mold Michael Penix, I think it would actually be really great. I don't know if he necessarily fits the offense that Sean Payton runs, but I feel like Sean Payton would get in there and adjust his offense based on, the type of players that he has. I also said the Saints, given that the Derek Carr situation is just up in the air. They did pay him a lot of money, but I know word on the street is that they're looking to draft a quarterback. And I feel like Michael Penix might be one of the guys that kind of slips to them later on. And so I feel like that would be a fun little addition to a team who has a lot of young talent on the perimeter, a good offensive line, great defense. And so that's a place where he could go in and win there immediately. So that's kind of where I stand with Michael Penix. Brendan, we'll start off with you. Let me hear your thoughts, team fits, maybe a comp in there. What you got?
Yeah, I like your thoughts on the Broncos and Saints a whole lot. And to your point, like, he really is a wild card. And I think, I kind of went, I guess, with the quote unquote boring answer, but I think it also makes sense too. Is what about the Seahawks? Local guys around there.
Yeah.
A great receiving core there, right? So Penix can make every single throw, right? But you have Metcalf there as well. He can be able to push the ball downfield. Of course, they have a new OC there, so I'm not sure exactly what the fit would be. The OC would have to kind of adapt to Penix Jr., which I don't think is hard. He operates from the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
He is mobile, but I want to call him a runner.
Right. Right.
In terms of player comp, it was really really tough for me to kind of think of one. I liked your Matthew Stafford comp. I actually said like maybe more of like a reckless like Kirk Cousins type guy because he just operates from the pocket, can like sling it. Maybe a little bit more athletic than Kirk Cousins. At least I like hope so. He better be because that dude does not run. Cousins does not run at all, or I don't know if he even can. So I would say Seattle is probably my favorite place for him.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. The Geno Smith fit. Very similar style of play. He would like fit perfectly in that offense if you threw him in there. I don't know what it is about left-handed quarterbacks, but they're so hard to gauge. So it just looks so weird. It's hard to like comp. That makes no sense.
It plays mind tricks on you. I watched a little clip of him throwing like right-handed, like it was like a flipped. I was like, oh, this guy's awesome. This guy's going first overall. And then watch him throw it left, and like I don't know now. Yeah. Who is this guy?
It's so weird. It's like I don't even know. It makes no sense because it shouldn't change like my perception of anything, but it just it looks so weird that I'm like, who do I even compare this guy to? And I see everybody comparing to, and I'm like, that's too easy.
It's way too easy.
That's a lazy take,
Yeah.
Don't be doing that. So, Emmett, what's your thoughts on Michael Penix? Where do you think he's going to go? Good fits, maybe a comp. Let me hear it.
Michael Penix has broken my heart. As B knows, throughout the season, Michael Penix has been my favorite quarterback throughout the year. I love the way Penix plays, but when I actually broke down his film, he broke my heart a little bit. Penix for me is a left-handed Colin Kaepernick. They have this gigantic, massive arm. They can throw it an absolute country mile, but it's just so sporadic. And the thing with Michael Penix Jr. is he's such a rhythm thrower. And when you start watching the games, you'll notice when he gets out of rhythm, they'll run 2, 3, 4 screens back to back to back, try to get him right back into that throwing rhythm again, that sweet spot for him. And then they start attacking downfield again. Because when he loses it, it gets ugly quick. He can miss on intermediate throws. He can miss on short throws. He just loses control. So he needs to go to a team that's willing to rework the lower half of his mechanics, get his hips in line with his shoulder and his throwing motion. So for me, that's got to be the New York Giants. Brian Daboll specializes in working with these big arm guys. They already have Wan'Dale Robinson, who's a speedster from Alabama. So I think it's just one of those natural kind of pairings. It allows him to sit there, get a couple of reps while Daniel Jones is recovering from his ACL tear, I believe. And if he ends up catching fire right out the gate, they can just keep Daniel Jones on the bench and move on from after the season. He does have an out in his contract. But I think Michael Penix in New York would be a fun watch.
No, I like it. I didn't even, consider that, but I feel like Daboll is the type of guy who can really mold somebody into kind of what he wants him to be, and he would be the perfect candidate given that his, arm is already up to par for the league. So, that's a fun fit. I think that he would slide in pretty well. So, last but not least, JJ McCarthy, Emmett's number 2, and this is where I had a lot of fun too because there were a few teams where I think, scheme wise, actually made a lot of sense for me. And I'll just kind of go ahead and say, I love the Saints, to get in there. Clint Kubiak is actually now the Saints offensive coordinator. He was the 49ers passing game coordinator. And of course he's a Kubiak descendant. So, really heavy into the play action, a lot of plays, running outside of the pocket. So, you want to find a guy who's got really good arm strength, arm talent, who can stretch the field vertically, but who can do that is outside of the pocket as well, both inside and outside of the pocket. And I feel like JJ McCarthy would be a good fit, given that the Saints could get him a little bit later in the draft. He would be a good guy to develop on the bench. I also had him for the Vikings as well, under the same kind of the notion of him being kind of picked a little bit later. KOC would be, the perfect guy to develop a guy like JJ McCarthy. I think similarly to your thoughts on Drake Maye, going to the Vikings and stuff. I think that it could be a fun fit for the Vikings and a fun project. per se. And then similar for the Broncos. I feel like the Broncos are the wild card in a lot of these prospects and where they would fit. But JJ McCarthy could fit a lot of schemes well, and I think the Saints were one of them for me, and whatnot. So I'll just leave it at that. Emmett, we'll start with you. JJ McCarthy, give me some fun fits and where your head's at with JJ.
Yeah, so it's funny is actually initially my thought was JJ McCarthy to the Vikings makes too much sense. Then when we started doing the research for our newest video, I was like, I don't think so. I just don't think it works out that way. And then as you were kind of listing him, I agree 100%. The Saints would be a fantastic fit, but I don't think he gets that far. I think he goes to the Broncos. Sean Payton loves attacking that short to intermediate area. That's where JJ McCarthy specializes in. He's more of the traditional pocket passer, quarterback, more in line with exactly what Sean Payton loves to coach. And I already know, and this may just is reading a little bit into tea leaves, but I don't know if you know who Benjamin Albright is. He's the Broncos insider, is in love with JJ McCarthy and keeps gushing about the guy, how fantastic he's going to be. He's going to go higher than anyone thinks. And I wonder if he's not getting that intel from talking to Sean Payton. Maybe that's guiding his thinking about it. So I think the Broncos makes too much sense there.
Interesting. Brendan, what do you think? Let me know.
I'm going to go with Las Vegas. I think they're right there in the mix. They can probably come up. I know there's got Gardner Minshew, but he's a bridge quarterback per se. I think, with Luke Getsy there, after watching Luke Getsy work with Fields, obviously Fields wasn't right for Luke Getsy's offense. I can see JJ McCarthy kind of stepping right into that offense, being able to stretch the field and play action, be able to work the short game out of the gun. And I know this is more what I call a meatball take, I guess, because it's not really stat based. But I like JJ's makeup. I like, he's a leader. Obviously, all these guys are like leaders, but he's really like gritty. He knows how to win. I think he has a right personality for that team and for that city. I think he can probably fit in well there. So I'll go with the Raiders.
Nice. That's a team we haven't really, been able to touch on. I feel like they're in purgatory with their draft pick at number 13 right now. So they kind of they'll be a wait and see team. Who falls to them at 13? Who can they get? So, but no, I love it. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate you joining. Tons of fun. I feel like we could go on and on even more. So, but super fun discussion. Everybody watching, you can find them at the RFL Show on Twitter /X, at the Rational Football League Show on YouTube. Make sure to check them out. Sounds like they have a lot of fun content on the docket. So we'll be back here later with more free agency updates and, of course, more draft content later in the spring. Talk to you guys later.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.